the microphone?
Yeah, talk in the
There you
microphone.
go, there you
What's
go.
your favorite song
Oh,
from the 70s?
you put me on the spot, huh?
I know. What's your favorite song from the 70s?
I'm not from the 70s.
That's kind of, to me, is what noir is. It's like it's a way to examine characters. Like for me, all story comes from character, and the way I come up with stories often is, I carry a notebook around with me. If I see someone that's doing something interesting, I jot that down because I think, oh, this guy is a mobile locksmith. He breaks into cars for a living, like legally. Like that would be a totally great profession for someone to have in a noir story, and I just write that down, and that just sits in my notebook until eventually I get around to looking, trying to create a new character and thinking about like, well, what do they do? And then I'm like, oh, they break into cars for a living, but legally, and then they break into the wrong car, or something. I'm just making that up, but don't steal that. That's copyright. That's the break into car guy story by Ed Brubaker.
Okay, so we're here with superstar writer, Mr. Ed Brubaker. Great comics. You guys know him for Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Criminal, Fatale, and now you're also, for the past few years, you've been segueing into screenwriting.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Well, about half my time is spent doing film and TV writing right now.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember back in, I think was it 2009, Angel of Death, the web series?
Yeah, the web series. Yeah, that was sort of my first. I had actually done a few screenplays for things that haven't been made or probably will never get made before that, but that was the first thing where we had like a star attached and a studio already giving us the budget before I even started writing it. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like that since then, of course, you're now working on film screenplays and stuff like that. Have you ever thought about ever trying your hand at directing?
Yeah, I've made a couple short films, and when I was a kid, like in junior high and high school, I would sit at home and draw comics, and then me and my friends would make Super 8 movies, and I was always the one who sort of by default became the writer and director because I had all the ideas and could order everybody around.
Yeah.
It's and a couple, 3 or 4 years ago, I made a short film just to see if I still, thought I could do it, and the problem with film is just it's so labor intensive and time intensive, and you need so many people, and I think I've gotten spoiled by comics where I just sit at home and I write a script and send it to Sean or Steve Epting and they just draw it how I wrote it. And I think if to be a film director, you really, other than maybe directing commercials, can't really have a lot of side jobs. You don't see a lot of film directors who also like write novels on the side or something. A film is 2 or 3 years of your life once it starts happening, I think. So
pretty much. I think Robert Rodriguez is the only guy who can multitask in that department because he doesn't sleep.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess Tarantino could probably pull it off. I guess if you only want to do a movie every 5 years or something,
that works out.
You might be able to do that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Now you mentioned you work with Sean and you work with Steve at Image right now. You got the 5-year deal. It's basically an unheard of deal before this.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, here you
I'm
go.
hoping they'll start calling
want.
it the Brubaker deal.
Yeah.
That's what Bill Willingham said. He was like, "I'm mad that you got that deal because now if I ask for a deal like that, they'll be like, oh, you want the Brubaker deal." But that was it was really just sometimes I worry about whether our stuff is commercial or not, and what I've found is the less I worry about whether or not who's going to buy it, who's going to want it, whether it's going to sell, whether it's going to be a hit, the less I worry about that stuff, the better I write.
Right.
And the better stories I write. Like if I had worried about whether anyone wanted my version of what happens when Archie grows up, I would have never written Last of the Innocent, which is, I think, the best thing I've ever written. Yeah. So I just wanted the freedom to be able to just write whatever the hell I wanted. And Eric Stevenson was like, what are you guys going to do next? And I said, well, here's an idea. What if you guys just gave us a contract for 5 years to do whatever the hell we want? Because we've been working together for 15 years, and this will take us to 20 years. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then we started working out the details, and it was just like, it's great. We have, it's as close to total freedom as you can get. And the only reason it's not total freedom is because Sean still needs pages to draw.
Of course.
So it's like, it's as close to total freedom as I can get, but I have to. every week or two send script to Sean or he'll get mad. So I don't have the sort of sitting there wondering like, well, I can do anything I want. What do I want to do? Like that's what happens when you have total freedom. You need a deadline basically, and so the deadline is that I have a really fast artist who needs to feed his kids. So it's great motivation because now I have the next 3 or 4 years of our books figured out. But if we get to the end of the fade out and I decide, I want to do this other thing instead, then we can just do that, like I don't have to pitch it and get it cleared and all of that stuff. It's just, this is the next Brubaker thing. If we're halfway through the fade out and I feel like, let's take a month off and do a criminal annual, then we can do that, we can do anything we want, and it's amazing. And I plan to exploit the fuck out of it. And what's your favorite comic? Yeah.
It's gotta be Batman.
Batman.
Hey.
Did you like the Captain America movie?
Did not see it, I don't think.
Did you see it?
No.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
wrong crowd
You're free
here.
to leave.
You brought up in the panel and also at the show last night, you brought up your love of Archie.
Yeah.
And of course, The Last of the Innocent, one of your best. You said it as well. One of your best works.
I think it's probably my best thing.
Yeah, it is. It is so amazing. Now, you've joked about it. You joked about it a lot in there about writing for Archie, but with the way things have gone with Afterlife with Archie and with this whole possible death of Archie and all this sort of stuff, an alternative universe Archie story told by Ed Brubaker is a possibility now. Would you jump at the chance?
No. Well, honestly, I can barely manage doing, a book a month for Sean and Steve right now around my other writing. I wrote several drafts of Maniac Cop over the last year, and it was really hard to just fit in the comic book work around that already. So,
totally.
I mean, at some point I would love to write, something for Archie, but yeah, probably couldn't be a long-term commitment. I'd love to, some part of me would love to do the 12-issue Jughead thing, but I don't think I could actually ever pull it off.
The life and
but
death
yeah,
of Jughead.
my plate is so full with work right now, and I have a notebook full of ideas that I want to do with Steve and Sean that I just can't imagine, having enough time to fit in anything else. Darwin Cook and I have talked about maybe trying to work together again. And the great thing about that is both of us are so goddamn busy, we'll never get around to doing it. All right, let's show off my velvet puppet.
Of course. This is a velvet
This
puppet.
lovely fan made me a velvet puppet.
Yeah.
And no one has ever made me a puppet before. Someone made me a Winter Soldier action figure once, but no one's ever made me a puppet before. And she put a nice little note on it thanking me for creating such an awesome kick-ass woman character.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's got to create 5 little henchman puppets for her
5
to kick,
henchman puppets,
to get their asses kicked by her. That's basically.
Then I'd have to have collaborators for my puppet show.
Right, so the last question, we got to attend the screening that you and Darwin put up for Kubrick's The Killing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier in the panel today that you'd love to be a curator for a noir film festival.
Oh, yeah.
What are the 5 essential films that you would definitely need to have in that festival?
Well, it would be Point Blank, with the Lee Marvin Point Blank with John Borman movie.
Yeah.
Memento, Out of the Past, The Big Sleep, probably better than The Maltese Falcon, I think. Wow, 5. I'm not a list guy. I've never been a list. No, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna nail it.
Okay.
Night of the Hunter.
There we go. Night of the
There we
Hunter.
go. That's my 5. That would be my 5th pick, and 2 of them would be neo-noir.
There you go. Yeah, neo-noir.
But also, you get into noir, you get into the Pusher trilogy, you get into Drive, you get into, I think Only God Forgives is the best noir film that came out last year. So,
yeah, I know, pretty good.
And there's so much great stuff within noir. Inception is a noir.
Yeah.
Because, here, let me explain Inception to you.
Yeah.
This is the best. This is my theory of why Inception is a great movie.
Okay.
Is no thing that you're seeing in Inception is actually happening.
Yeah.
The entire movie is the dream of a guy whose wife committed suicide the day before, and it's the dream he's having the night before he has to wake up the next day and tell his children that their mother is dead.
Yeah.
Every layer of that film is another layer of a dream, including the layer that's supposed to be reality.
Yeah.
Because the layer that's supposed to be reality is the least real level in it.
Right.
That's where he gets caught in an alley and where he's runs in to hide somewhere and he's the only person that's not like them. And that's the most dreamlike layer of the entire movie.
Yeah.
And that is a movie that is about a guy's worst nightmare, which is, I think it's Chris Nolan's worst nightmare, which would be what happens if my wife dies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, totally. That's a great
And
thing.
I think that's why it's a brilliant movie. Is
Yeah.
the viewer actually has to add the last layer of the dream
exactly.
themselves. And I would love to talk to him about that sometime.
Cool. And that's a great thing about noir is that you can pretty much anything can become a noir story. Anything can become
Yeah.
a tragic tale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even though usually there's very little redeeming qualities of main characters in a noir story.
Yeah.
They're the most human.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think noir is, for me, it strikes me right in the heart because it's about fucked up, fractured people trying to get from one bad place to a good place and not being able to.
Totally.
You know, or making one wrong decision that ruins their entire life, but they're like ultimately trying to. Noir is basically about a fracturing of the American dream, and about the American dream being a sham. You know, in a lot of ways. So, to me, that is kind of the heart of it.
All right. Well, I look forward to more great noir stories from you, sir. And we're getting very close to the end of Fatale. Is there any kind of teaser you can throw out there?
Issue 23 is the all-sex issue. If Apple still owned Comixology, we would definitely be banned.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks a lot. What's your favorite song from the 80s? No,
He's
he's gonna ignore it.
He's gonna ignore. He's
Yeah,
not
just
gonna play.
full on ignoring. Okay.